What if the Vatican itself hid something that could absolve Lucifer? Deep beneath a library that few even know exists, among apocryphal manuscripts and gospels buried by history, lies a document sealed 7 times, codename Archivum Lucis. It was never meant to be opened, not even read, but someone did, and everything changed. In 1946, a Jesuit archaeologist vanished without a trace. Before he disappeared, he left behind a cryptic letter. I found what Rome feared most, a version where Lucifer isn't the villain. The letter was intercepted, the library sealed, his name erased from all official Vatican records. But what if the truth about this discovery was never fully buried? Within that document lie passages that challenge everything we've been taught. Verses portraying Lucifer not as the prince of evil, but as a guardian of freedom. Alleged words from him include, "I was sent to awaken mankind from illusion. Heaven is a golden cage, and I simply broke the lock." Why would the Vatican keep something like this hidden? Who profits from eternal silence? And what if Lucifer was never punished, but chosen? The same symbol found on the document. Moidetean, a winged serpent within an inverted triangle, also appears in hidden frescoes beneath St. Peter's crypt. Could that serpent be the original symbol of enlightenment, not temptation? Why does this same emblem show up in Gnostic manuscripts and ancient cathedrals? On his deathbed, a former Vatican librarian broke his silence. He handed over a copy of the first excerpt from the Archivum Lucis. One line was underlined in dried blood. Rome's first lie was the silence about the fall that never happened. But who really wrote this? And why is the signature marked with an ancient papal seal? What do you think about this? Leave your thoughts in the comments. What if a pope tried to reveal the truth and was erased from history? His name never appeared in the official records of the Holy See, but internal documents speak of a transitory pontiff, elected by a secret conclave in the 13th century. His papacy lasted only 27 days. His tomb was never found, but one letter survived. It begins with a confession. "The throne I occupy is both the holiest and the most profane. I was warned, if I reveal the secret, not one stone will be left upon another." The handwritten letter in archaic Latin was discovered by accident in 1971 during a structural renovation of the Avignon Cathedral in France. It speaks of the angel of light who was betrayed by the order of men, and includes a chilling line, "We made him the enemy, so they would never question our rule." This hymn is mentioned repeatedly, but the name Lucifer never appears directly, only a symbol, a fallen star spiraling above an altar. And what if that fallen star isn't a symbol of rebellion, but of revelation? Why were the ancient popes so afraid of this being uncovered? Could it be that the Church created the image of a demon to protect its own empire? Scholars have noted the letter uses a cipher known as the Girolamo cryptogram, a code employed by secret societies within the Church itself. When decoded, a hidden phrase emerges between the lines. The first guardian did not fall. He was hunted. That same word, guardian, appears in Gnostic Gospels like those of Judas and Thomas. There, Lucifer is not portrayed as a traitor, but as a messenger of a God greater than the biblical creator. In the final line of the letter, there's a direct reference. "May the seals remain unbroken, and may the Lucis remain asleep." Lucis, the same name as the document found beneath the Vatican. That's not a coincidence. It's an echo, a trace of a truth long buried. A priest who worked on the Avignon restoration vanished 2 days after reading the letter. Before he disappeared, he recorded a single whisper on a cassette tape. The real secret lies in the bones of the first martyr. But who is this martyr, and what could his body reveal? If this struck a chord with you, like this video, and helped spread the word, what if the bones of a saint hid the oldest pact between heaven and hell? Beneath the Basilica of St. John Lateran in Rome lies a crypt that doesn't appear on any official map. There, sealed under 7 layers of lead and incense, rests an unregistered reliquary. It is said to contain the bones of Stephen, the first Christian martyr. But those who examined it tell a different story. In 1994, A restoration team sent by the Vatican itself opened the reliquary for analysis. The skull was pierced, but the wound didn't match the stoning described in the Bible. Even more disturbing, symbols were carved into his jawbone. One of them was unmistakable. The spiral star, the same symbol found in the Archivum Lucis document. The same symbol from the forgotten papal letter. Was Stephen really stoned by the Pharisees, or was he silenced? For knowing too much? What did he witness that the church couldn't allow to survive? A fragment from the Acts of Stephen, deemed heretical and destroyed by the church in the 4th century, was found hidden among the relics in the crypt. It contained a single line: "Lucifer showed me the true face of God, and it was not made of light." The phrase had been scorched by fire, but it survived. The church called it blasphemy. Independent scholars call it revelation. The bone analysis revealed another anomaly. It contained DNA from 2 individuals. One was a young man from the Middle East. The other could not be identified. It matched no known human database, only fragments with an anomalous genetic signature never seen before. Who was the other? Was this part of a ritual? A covenant? An ancient Coptic manuscript found in Egypt speaks of a crossing sacrifice, a ritual where 2 beings seal a pact at an altar between realms, one human and one fallen angel. According to the text, the first of these pacts happened with Stephen, and the angel, he was called the bearer of the dawn, etched into the side of Stephen's urn in ancient Aramaic. Let my body be the seal between realms. Let my pain eternalize the pact. Whose pain? A pact with whom? And why did Rome keep this sealed for centuries? Subscribe. What comes next is even darker. There's an order within the Vatican that not even the Pope controls. While cardinals gather beneath golden light, in the shadows, another congregation moves. No red robes, no public vows, no faces. They call themselves the Watchers of the Veil, created not to protect the faith, but to bury what could destroy it. Secret documents date their origin to 1249, under the papacy of Innocent IV. That same year, a hidden annex was added to the Inquisition, not to judge heretics, but to burn forbidden truths. Their motto, Fides ante veritatem, faith before truth. The Watchers were not just scholars, they were soldiers of doctrine, experts in forging manuscripts, creating official gospels, erasing witnesses, and above all, protecting the Vatican's 7 black archives. The first of those archives? Archivum Lucis. Why would faith need protection? From truth? What if the most sacred dogmas were built on edited documents? What if the image of Lucifer was crafted out of fear and convenience? Testimonies from former monks describe 7 hidden compartments beneath the Vatican Apostolic Library, each sealed with ancient symbols, not Christian but Babylonian and Egyptian. On one, a single name is engraved, Lux. The others are coded, Sanguis, Corpus, Gladius, Ignis, Mater, Fallen. Translated, they form a chilling sequence. Light, blood, body, sword, fire, mother, fallen. 7 concepts, 7 secrets, 7 sins, or 7 truths. An anonymous manuscript from 1533, written in archaic Italian and preserved in secret by a dissident priest, describes an encounter with one of the Watchers. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He simply handed me a piece of parchment and said, "If you read this, you'll never see God the same way again." The parchment, a fragmented copy of Archivum Lucis, with one sentence underlined, "Lucifer did not fall. He was betrayed by those who used his name as a weapon." A retired exorcist, interviewed in 1987 by a German documentarian, offered one final revelation. They do not fear hell. They fear that hell is the truth. Before vanishing mysteriously, he left behind one note. "Find the woman. She carries the original blood." But what woman? And what does original blood even mean? Share this with someone who needs to see what's been hidden. What if the blood most feared by the Vatican isn't Christ's, but that of a forgotten woman? She was erased from Scripture, rewritten as a prostitute, a heretic, or a symbol of temptation. But documents buried by the Watchers of the Veil say otherwise. She was the bearer of the pact, Her true name was never spoken from the pulpits, but among the Vatican's hidden archives, she is called Lilith Mariae. In 1889, a charred manuscript was discovered in the ruins of Qumran. Written in mystical Hebrew, blending Jewish tradition with ancient Christian symbols, it tells a different Genesis. Adam had two women. The first, Lilith, was not made from his rib. She was made from the same essence, equal to him, free, and she did not fall with Lucifer. She chose to walk beside him. What if the original fall was actually a flight? What if Lilith and Lucifer sealed not a pact of destruction, but one meant to preserve human consciousness? Why has the Vatican never allowed this text to be recognized? A sealed document from 1313 mentions a direct descendant of Lilith, a woman carrying a type of blood with unique genetic markers. Women from this bloodline were always identified by the Vatican's secret orders. Tracked, silenced, or recruited. One lived in Avignon in the 15th century, another in Prague in 1611, and the last known was located in 1947. In southern Italy, she was pregnant. The father was never identified. The Vatican registered the child as spiritual property under analysis. Encrypted alchemical texts found in the Sanguis archive indicate that this bloodline carries a non-replicable electromagnetic frequency. Ancient rituals, allegedly, performed in secret by the Watchers, used this blood to access what they called the Black Mirror of Revelation. According to apocryphal accounts, he who drinks of the original blood will see heaven with the eyes of an angel and hell with the soul of a man. In 1981, a rarely remembered Pope, John Paul I, who reigned only 33 days, wrote the following in a private journal. They showed me the woman. I saw the tests, the blood, the symbol, and I saw what she dreams. She dreams of burning wings and an empty throne. Days later, he was found dead. Official cause, heart attack. But no autopsy was ever allowed. In an abandoned village in Calabria, researchers uncovered the journal of the woman, identified as the heir to the original bloodline. On the final page, one cryptic sentence. He said he will return when the 7 stars are opened, and that my son will know the truth. But who is the son? And what are these 7 stars? Have you ever wondered about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. There's a hidden manuscript in the Vatican that foretells the return of Lucifer. Among the documents classified as maximum heresy, there is a manuscript sealed with black wax and marked with an inverted star symbol. Few have read it, even fewer survived afterward. Its name is whispered among the watchers of the veil like a curse. Septem Stelli, the 7 stars. It's a 112-page codex written in 3 layered languages. Mystical Aramaic, occult Latin, Enochian symbolism. At its core lies a prophecy, the opening of 7 stellar seals that would release the silenced angel. Each star represents a hidden truth. Each seal, an act by the church to keep the angel imprisoned. What if the 7 sacraments are not just rituals, but seals? What if every baptism, Eucharist, or confession is masking a piece of the truth about Lucifer? In 1958, an excommunicated theologian, Father Giacomo Ferrazzi, translated part of the manuscript. His work was burned. He disappeared, but one fragment survived, hidden by a student. When the final seal is broken, the bearer of the original blood shall awaken the star mirror. Heaven will tremble, and the throne will be seen empty. The manuscript lists dates, events, even names. And on one page, a name appears 3 times. LUCIFER, LUCIFER, LUCIFER. The meaning is unmistakable. Bearer of light. Symbolism researchers claim the 7 seals align with 7 specific constellations, forming a sky pattern visible only once every 1,111 years. The next alignment, November 11, 2033. Coincidence? That date also marks 2,000 years since the supposed crucifixion of Christ. Among the manuscript's supporting texts is a reference to an ancient artifact hidden beneath Aachen Cathedral in Germany. Its name, Speculum Celestis, the celestial mirror. Legend says it reveals the true face of God, or whatever now sits in his place. A priest who tried to activate it in 1942 went blind, and before losing his mind, he repeated just one phrase. the one sitting on the throne, is not who we were told it is. A Vatican archaeologist sent one final letter before vanishing. The sixth seal has already been broken. Only one remains, and it lies within a man. But who is this man, and does he know what he carries? Like this, if any part of it made you uncomfortable, what if the final key to the pact between Lucifer and the Vatican is alive? Inside a man, he doesn't appear in newspapers. There are no official records, but his birth was handwritten in a papal journal, sealed in 1947. His true name remains unknown. In the Vatican's encrypted documents, he's referred to only as the bearer. His mother was identified as a direct descendant of Lilith's bloodline. You met her in part 5. But the father? Never recorded. Witnesses claim she spoke to someone no one else could see during her pregnancy. At birth, the child showed an unusual biological trait, a genetic sequence theologians called the mark of the 8th star. And more unsettling, he was born holding something in his hands, a metallic fragment with Enochian inscriptions that no one has ever been able to explain. How could a newborn emerge holding a sacred artifact? What if he wasn't a coincidence, but the product of an ancient plan set in motion long before the church ever existed? The child was taken by the Vatican to a secret underground facility known as Domus Silenti, the House of Silence. There he grew up isolated from the world. No name, no identity, but full access to all of the black archives. It's said that by age 12, he spoke dead languages. By 15, he recited entire passages from the manuscript of the 7 stars, without ever reading it physically. At 18, he vanished. Confidential reports suggest that in 2001, he was spotted in Brazil, living among silent monks in the countryside of Minas Gerais. But when Vatican agents arrived, the monastery had burned to the ground. Only one thing remained, a symbol drawn in blood on a stone wall, the spiral of 7 stars, pierced by a single tear. In 2010, a repentant watcher, before disappearing, left behind a final message. He knows who he is, he's seen the throne, and he knows it's empty. The final seal will not be opened by force, but by recognition. If the throne is empty, who rules heaven? And what if the bearer is not the enemy of faith, but its true guardian? An anonymous letter delivered to the Vatican Library in 2023 contained only 2 sentences. The bearer is coming to Rome. He already knows where the mirror is buried. The mirror, the final revelation. Is it about to begin? Subscribe. The truth doesn't end here. The Vatican hid a mirror no man can face without losing his faith. There's an altar in Rome that no one worships at, buried beneath the chapel of St. Longinus inside St. Peter's Basilica. There, sealed under layers of consecrated lead, lies the most feared object among the watchers of the veil, Speculum Caelestis, the celestial mirror. According to the manuscript of the 7 stars, the mirror is no ordinary object. It was forged, the texts say, from fragments of the sky's very vault, created by pre-Adamic entities, protected by orders that predate Christianity, and used only twice in known history. The first during the Council of Nicaea, the second never officially confirmed. But internal Vatican documents suggest that Pope John Paul V was the last to gaze upon it. 33 days later, he was dead. Why would the church keep a mirror instead of destroying it? What if it doesn't reflect the image, but the hidden essence of the divine? What did the Pope see that could never be spoken? To activate the speculum, 7 marks must be united, each one tied to the seals of the 7 stars. And according to the Ignis files, the 6th secret archive of the Vatican, the bearer carries the final mark in his left iris. It only reveals itself under the light of the mirror. And when that happens, the image will appear. But what exactly will be shown? In 1999, scientists under Vatican Commission attempted to activate the mirror in a controlled environment. They used only 3 counterfeit seals. Even so, 2 researchers lost their sanity. One left behind a note. I saw wings that don't belong to angels, and a throne made of flesh. The recording of the experiment was classified as absolute inaccessible. The footage never leaked, But the internal report reads, "The mirror does not show God. It shows who is pretending to be God." In recent months, movement has been detected within the Gladius archives, those related to theological weaponry. There are rumors the Vatican plans to destroy the mirror before the bearer reaches it. But the remaining watchers are divided. Some believe that allowing the vision is the only path to the unveiled truth. Among documents recovered by faith dissidents, one line was found engraved on the back of the mirror: "What you will see is what your soul always suspected." A video anonymously uploaded to the deep web shows a man standing before a polished, circular structure draped in red cloth. He lifts his eyes, and then the footage cuts out. One final phrase appears on screen: "The bearer has seen." But what did he see? Tag someone who would dare watch until the end. Or what the bearer saw in the mirror was so disturbing that not even the angels dared to whisper it. For centuries, the Vatican protected faith with dogmas, with symbols, with silence. But now, in front of the speculum caelestis, the silence was broken. The bearer activated the 7 seals. The mirror opened its eyes, and the reflection was not God's. Eyewitnesses to the event, 3 former monks who escaped the Vatican, shared what they saw that night. There was no light in the mirror. There was something writhing, something watching us, as if we were the ones being judged. One of them said, "I felt like all our dogmas were hollow shells." Another, "I saw the sky cracking." But the bearer did not look away. What if the faith we know was built as a veil, and the God we worship is just a mask, placed between us and the true Creator? The manuscript of the 7 stars said, "When the reflection is revealed, the bells will ring into the void, and an ancient name will be spoken by those who had forgotten." The next morning, 13 cathedrals across Europe rang their bells simultaneously. No schedule, no explanation, and on every altar, one word appeared written in ash: Lucem. Not Lucifer, the reinvented villain, but Lucem Fere, the one who brings the light. He didn't speak for 3 days, and when he finally did, he spoke just one sentence: "He does not hate us. He set us free." The Vatican spiraled into internal collapse. Watchers abandoned their posts. High-ranking cardinals vanished, and a document surfaced from the black archives with a final handwritten note: "If the mirror reveals the truth, destroy it." But it wasn't destroyed. It was hidden again, this time by the bearer. Why hide the truth if it sets us free? Why does light still scare us so much? And what did the bearer see that no one else could endure? On the wall of the room where he slept after the mirror, he left one final message, handwritten: "The throne is empty, but the light is not." The watchers intercepted the message, but they couldn't erase it. It was already echoing across the world. And now, the choice is no longer theirs. It's ours. If this disturbed you, that was the point. Leave your thoughts in the comments. If the throne is empty, then who has been ruling our souls? The bearer vanished. The mirror was hidden, and the black archives returned to silence. But the damage was done. The truth slipped through the cracks of the sacred walls. And like all truth, it can no longer be ignored. Witnesses claim he didn't run. He dissolved, as if he became part of the very light he revealed. And he left behind 3 messages. 1, light does not belong to heaven. 2, hell was the first prison. 3, freedom only exists outside of thrones. But what if everything we believed was designed to keep us afraid? What if Lucifer was never the enemy, but the spark that invites us to choose? The final message didn't come with fire, thunder, or earthquakes. It came in silence. Thousands of people around the world began to dream the same image: an empty throne, and around it, 7 stars fading out one by one, until only one light remained, the light of the human gaze itself. The ancient texts always spoke of a war between light and darkness. But maybe that battle was never between heaven and hell. Maybe it was between authority and awareness, between obeying what you're told, or daring to look into the mirror. The church went silent. The Vatican remains quiet. But a leaked internal note, released by a former watcher, revealed this line: "The greatest mistake of faith was making Lucifer the villain. The second was believing God ever needed a throne." Now, the mirror is out there. The bearer is gone, but the reflection lives within us. The question is no longer who sits on the throne. The question is, what if there was never a throne at all? And what if this is real? Write your truth below.